So here, so in we're going to start off the structure of our class, 1 hour class. I'll try to keep it on the 1 hour, so we're all out with our schedules. The structure is we'll do 15 minutes of halacha and 45 minutes of musar, or of ethical teaching, from the Sefer Reshit Chochmah. And I'll discuss that in a second what that is. Okay, all of the poskim, in particular Chacham Ovadia, Alav Shalom, all of them speak about the importance of a person who is busy in his daily life, better known as Balei Batim. Just before we continue, this Shiur is dedicated in loving memory and Leilu Nishmat. Who is it? David ben Leah. David ben Sarfati Ruach Adonai Tinichenu B'Gan Eden. Amen. And so each of us when we're on our days, during our days we're working, we're busy, we're called Balei Batim. That's to those who are working. We have an obligation to learn. And one of the most important things to learn, if you're busy out in the world, is to know what to do. Halacha. I've said this to Jacob many times. And so knowing what to do, knowing your halacha, is what gives you strength to continue. So that's first and foremost the priority, in life. So we'll start off with 15 minutes of halacha from the Sefer Halacha Berura, which was written by Rabbi David Yosef, based on the halachot of Yosef, and of course on the Shulchan Aruch, follows the order of the Shulchan Aruch. Okay? And so we'll get a little insight in there, and from there we always have questions that spring out from there, and then we'll do the rest of the time in ethical teaching. Okay, so we'll start off. So if you can get this sefer called Halacha Berura, if you can pick it up, okay? Or if you want to make some photocopies for the next class, that way each of us has in front of us. Usually, the Spartak style of studying is not to be a lecturer. Rather, it is each of us to have the sefer with us, and each of us sort of learns together and goes around the table reading a little bit. Okay. So the first halacha in Shulchan Aruch is a very important halacha. I've done this with Jacob. We started doing this. First halacha is itgaber ka'ari la'amod baboker la'avodat bor'o sheyehu me'orer hashachar. Meaning, a person must overcome and be brave like a lion to wake up in the morning, to stand up and to arise in the morning to serve his Creator. Okay, sheyehu, that you or he should be the one that awakens the morning, and not the morning wakes you up. Okay, nice. Okay. Right, those are the first words. We're gonna sort of delve into.
We needed some lines this morning.
We're gonna delve into where does this come from? That this being the first codified law of Shulchan Aruch, of the Jewish code of law. It's amazing that this was chosen as the first law. Okay, Hagaha, what's added by the Ramah, Rabbi Moshe Isserlis, who is the halachic decider for the European or Ashkenazi community. He writes, "V'al kol panim lo ya'acher zman hatefila she'tzibur mitpalelim." So in a very pragmatic sense, the Ramah says, nonetheless, he shouldn't be late for tefillah that the tzibur, that the community is praying, is davening, right? So Maran,
you shouldn't keep them waiting. Is that what that's saying?
So yeah, Maran says. So Maran has like he starts off with a very very strong stance. Wake up in the morning like a lion. You be the one that wakes up in the morning, and then the Ramah comes along and says, just don't be late for prayer, man. Okay, don't be late for prayer. Okay, if you don't wake up in the morning, we understand, but just don't be late for prayer. Pray with the tzibur. Continues the Ramah. He says a very great principle. He says, Shiviti Hashem, Shiviti Adonai Nagdi Tamid, Kimim Liban Aimot, right? It says, I always place God before me. I constantly place Hashem before me. What does that mean? He says here, this is a great principle in the Torah. Placing Hashem before us, or having what's called God consciousness, in the New Age term. Meaning that I always understand that Hashem is in front of me, whatever I'm doing. It's a great principle in Torah, and it's also in what is espoused by the righteous, the tzaddikim, who follow in the path, follow before Hashem. What is he saying here? Ki en yeshivat ha'adam utnuotav v'asakav v'hu lavado bebeto ki shivato utnuotav asakav v'hu lifnei melech hagadol. When a person sits at home, whatever he does, when a person's in his own, private domain, his own private house, the way he conducts himself, the way he sits down, the way he's kicking back with his feet up on the table, in his tank top, I think of the Israeli picture, right? The way
Exactly.
Okay? And he's alone at home, it's Totally different if you were sitting or standing or doing whatever in front of a king. Your demeanor, your composure, your conduct, your behavior would be completely different if you were to sit or if you were standing in front of a king. And his speech and what he elicits from his mouth is when he is alone, with his family, with his close relatives, is definitely, of course, again, not the same as when he is in front of a king. When he's, in the court of a king. All the more so when a person ponders in his heart that there's a great king, the Holy One, blessed is He, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, whose glory fills the universe, is standing above him, standing before him, and always watching every single thing he does. So that's the idea. Hashem is always there. Hashem is always watching us. Okay? As it says in Yirmiyahu, can a person hide conceal himself in a hiding place and I'm not going to see him? You can't hide from God. You can't hide from God. Miyad, so in other words, when a person has this meditation, has this consciousness, this contemplation, what will happen? Miyad yirgia elav hayir'ah v'ha'achna'a mipahad Hashem b'rach u'boshto mimenu tamid. Immediately a person then will receive or will feel a sense of reverence, a sense of ir'ah, and a sense of submission and fear of Hashem, and in other words, shame. Constantly, Hashem's always there. Hashem's always, whether I'm in business, whether I'm doing my deals, whether I'm at home alone, whether I'm in my walk-in closet, in my room, in my house, Hashem's always there. Now another point of advice. This is brought down from the Torah that the Rama adds: person should never, ever, ever be ashamed of people who are trying to mock him when he's serving God. Be proud. Be proud of what you do. Okay? When in your service of Hashem. So first of all, wherever you are, whether it's in an airport, whether it's in public, you do what you got to do. You pray mincha, you putting your tefillin in the airport, you put your tefillin in the airport. Never, never, ever be worried about those who are mocking you. Okay? It has nothing to do with your service of Hashem. And finally, one must be modest in his conduct when he's sleeping. And when he's on his way, knowing, understanding before who he's sleeping, before who he's going. And immediately when one awakens from his sleep, he should wake up with zrizut is alacrity, with enthusiasm. Get going. To serve his Creator, may he be praised and elevated. So that is the first halacha on the Shulchan Aruch. Okay, so where does all this come from? Where does all this idea come from? So comes from a Mishnah. There's a Mishnah in Pirkei Avot, and we say this every morning. Yehuda ben Tema Omer, Yehuda son of Tema says, Eve'az kanamer, be bold like a leopard, right? Bekal kanesher, be light like an eagle. Ve'rat katevi, be swift like a gazelle, like a deer. Okay? Ve'gibor ka'ari, and brave like a lion. To do the will of your Father in heaven. Okay, so what is all this? Why all these animals? Why these animals? Why in this order? Let's see. And what Yehuda ben Tema says, be bold like a leopard. Sometimes a person holds back from doing a mitzvah because he knows there are people who are going to mock him. What? You're putting on tefillin again? I'll stop with the Shabbat stuff. What are you doing? What are you doing? Come on, I know you. Jacob, I remember you. Come on, what are you doing? No. Sometimes there'll be people like that. But he's here. Therefore, the first warning of the Pirkei Avot, shelo yimna midasot mitzvot. Should not hold back from doing mitzvot. Ela ya'is panav. Be bold. V'ya'aseh ha-mitzvot. And do the mitzvot. And he should not be bashful or ashamed for those who are trying to mock him. However, there's one caveat here with being bold. Being az, is not necessarily the greatest of attributes to have. Why? Because it says here, we also have the saying, az panim, where does it go? Gehenom. Uboshe panim is Gan Eden, right? One who is bold or brazen will go to Gehenom, will end up in Gehenom. And one who has Boshe panim, one who has a sense of shame, will go to Gan Eden. So we have to be careful. So what does it mean? We have to use this midah, this attribute of being bold, very carefully. So in other words, how? Nevertheless, when those people are mocking you, don't argue with them. Don't argue with them. Don't start up with them. Because azut, ultimately, boldness or brazenness is not not such a great midah. Miguneh means disgusting. And it's not really appropriate to use it at all, even to serve Hashem. Even to serve Hashem. Why? Because you may, unfortunately, a person uses a certain midah, attribute, it becomes part of them. A person, it's a 40-day rule, right? If you take a habit on for 40 days, it becomes part of you. You know. And so, azut, brazenness in the Jewish world is not one of the 7 highly effective, it's called characteristics or whatever, as Lahavdil Stephen Covey. Okay. Umasha Amar. So we did azut. Azut. Don't start up with anybody, but be brazen or bold enough that you do the mitzvot despite whatever anybody's going to tell you. That's one idea. Next idea. Umasha Amar v'kakanesh.